turn it over to Mark and Claren.
Thanks, Marie. So Nebo, that we just saw on the video from Spokane, Washington, and she told how she got here and so on. She was actually a student in our school, was there, I think, maybe about 3 years, something like that. And she had a marriage to one of the lost boys from Sudan who was a resident in the United States, went back and married her and was able to eventually get her over here. So she's really smart. I've been told, and listening to her, she sounded really smart. And some people that know her family personally has been. She has one of her younger brothers that followed her at the school. And so she mentioned there at the end, I just want to make this understanding in our presentation today, is that she said, God will bless you. The people of South Sudan, Africa in general, and certainly South Sudan, they're religious people. I mean, they're a spiritual people, and they hunger for the purest religion that they can get. A lot of them don't even have any kind of a church building in their village, and they hunger for that. But they pray to God. They're spiritual, and so that's things that here in the United States we don't talk about too much in public, but over there it's like, no, everything. So I was in Kampala, Uganda, which is a neighboring country, and it's the Jesus tire store, and it's the John the Baptist market, and so that's very common. So just taking that background kind of helps.
Marie has some photos that we're going to talk about here. These are photos of the Nimla school. And the photo that you see on the screen right now is of one of the buildings there. We have, I believe it's 3 buildings that we, through our fundraising efforts, have been able to build there at the Nimla school. Each of these buildings cost about $12,000 to $13,000. And it's a real help to the local economy because we hire local, contractors to build these buildings. But this is one of them, and you see the next photo here. These are students of the school in Nimla. I'm not exactly sure the project that they're working on, but you can tell at this school, most of the students actually have a uniform that they wear to school. Over in Nimla, as in most of Africa, the uniforms are a big thing. They all want the uniforms. Let me see, this is a picture of the 19 teachers that we have in Nimla. And as it says there, we have a little over 1,000 students that are at the school. Claren, you want to comment on the next photo here?
Yeah, so there was a water well, and I don't know if you quite caught that, but the pump handle was missing. So there's always maintenance and stuff that needs to be done, and we usually don't have sufficient funds to send them some money to fix to refurbish that pump. Some NGO put that in there, and over time it gets used by everybody around, and then it needs some maintenance. And then there was a picture of our Luca Othawai, that's his the lead teacher there. In this picture, they're pointing out some repair requests. This is the 3 buildings that we call permanent buildings. They're fired brick, and so those are made locally, so that helps the economy when we buy that in the building. And the students participate in some of the what maintenance and so on as a little bit, but of course they have no funds to resell. This is like a student assembly when they're getting ready for school to start. Probably, a pretty good number of students there, probably not all 1,000 that are registered. And so some of the pictures there, the agriculture that's there, it requires some work and stuff. So some of the school, it's okay to do some practical experience. Maybe they're clearing the weeds, they're doing something like that. And becomes a learning experience. When we send them the funds for a month, they will send us back the signing signature of the teachers, and I think that's probably $2,850 or something like that. But anyway, so again,
if I could interject, Claren, let me see, Marie, go back to the previous photo. Yeah, the one with the assembly. There we go. No, the assembly. There we go. Okay. So like Claren said, we have 3 permanent buildings there, but obviously about 1,000 students or so cannot all fit into these small little buildings. And they're not that big. And so if you'll notice all those trees around in the background there, that's still the classroom for a lot of the students. They just go under the tree, and which when weather's nice and there's no wind, it's not too bad, to be outside under the tree. But that's not always the case. Claren, why don't you tell me what you told me earlier today about being under the tree and the problems that presents?
One quick comment on that, if I could just kind of jump in here. I asked, Nibal mentioned that and we showed a picture of the kids clearing the grass out from under the trees. And I thought, why would you clear I asked her, why would you clear the grass out from under the trees? And she says, we have to clear the grass because otherwise it hides the critters.
Oh.
So yeah. To avoid visitors while they're or unwanted guests while they're in class, they have to clear the grass from under the trees.
Yeah. So and some things, you also have the rain. So the rain doesn't really, if it gets raining, full rain, then the trees don't protect them. There's actually insects that at certain seasons will fall out of the trees and bite the students. So there's just all kinds of hazards. And then when they're outside like that, our property doesn't have a fence all the way around it. Well, it doesn't have a fence at all, which we would love to have, but just cars can drive through there and the cattle wander through and goats and just anybody can walk through. And it's pretty distracting when you're trying to pay attention to what the teacher is trying to teach you. Mark?
Yeah, what you see on the screen right now is some pictures of some flooding that occurred in 2020, which just kind of exacerbates a lot of the challenges that they have there, you might say. Can you go to the next photo, Marie? Yeah, these are just some more photos of the flooding that occurred. And this is a photo of the inside of one of the classrooms, and the slate board that's being used by the teacher there. And I think in this particular photo, they were doing their final preparations for an exam. And if I could add this, the students in Nimla, at the school in Nimla, they take standardized government testing like they do with all of the government schools that are in South Sudan. And on the average, the students at our school in Nimla do better than the average student in the government school.
Mark?
Yeah.
So in just the last few years, we actually they have to, at the end of Nimla is first grade through 8th grade, so primary school, and they have to take a test at the end of the 8th grade to determine if they have sufficient schools to go on to secondary school. And we had 3 years in a row that the #1 student in that standardized testing scoring was in our Nimla school.
Is that #1 in the nation?
Not #1 in the state of Northern Bahr Ghazal.
Oh, okay. That's where Nimla is, right?
Yeah, like 10 states, and they were #1 in their state.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's excellent. But let me see here. I think we're about to the time where we need to go to the next segment, but let me just add, before we go to the next segment, that the people in Nimla are very, very great people. They're very loving people. And in spite of their impoverished circumstances and lack of opportunities, they're generally happy, especially the children. You wouldn't think it, you wouldn't know it, but the children are very, very, by nature, I think, very, very happy. We'd like to thank all of our donors, all those who are donating now and have donated in the past. Once again, if you'd like to donate and to help us meet our goal of $15,000 to help pay our teachers, you can go to sudanhelp.org, and there's right on the homepage there's a donate button, and we would love to have you do that. So why don't we go ahead, Marie, and move on to the next segment.
Thanks so much, Mark and Claren. What we're going to do next is we actually have a video that was sent in by one of our teachers at the Nimla school. Her name's Magdalena. And I do just want to say, as a way of introduction to this video, that we're very excited to have her on staff because of the history of the lack of education for women, in particular in South Sudan. There aren't very many female educators, and she's been a great force for good at the school and for especially the girls in the area. So we're very pleased to have her on staff. And she shares a little bit in this video with us about the specific needs that they have right now at the Nimla school. So we will now hear from Magdalena.
As I talk about the starting of the school started in 2008, and the number of the pupils has been increasing rapidly. If we talk about the population, last year the total number of the pupils were 800, and in this year they have increased to 1,075 pupils in the school. And we have candidates this year who are almost leaving the school because we don't have secondary school. And if we could manage to have the secondary school here, they would continue to be with us for some years to come. As we heard from some of the pupils, as they were complaining of loving the school and they would like to continue next year, if you could help us to bring for us a secondary school. Also, when we talk about the construction of the school, as you have seen the classes, we have many classes who are studying under the tree because of lack of the classrooms. The primarians from primary 1 up to around 6 there, they study under the tree, and they face a lot of challenges because of the rain. Sometimes when it rains, they don't have where to get shelter from. So most of them would run home, which interrupts the classes. So we request you to help us construct the classes, because that's the most important thing. Leaving the classes and going back home will interrupt them, as you know the rains here, it takes us many months when it's raining. So if it rains every day and we run home, that one we will not get knowledge. So we are requesting to get our classrooms constructed so that we will be studying peacefully with our lessons. Also, when we talk about the population, as you have seen here, these are not all the only people around. Most of them, they are at home because of the COVID-19, which interrupts our lessons. As you have heard, COVID-19 comes and interrupts the school, so most of the people are still at home. So these are a few of them, and they'll be back when the government allows them to come back to school.
Minister.
Also, there's a challenge we are facing here as the teachers, and that is the delayment of our salary. So we are requesting you to help us pay our salary in time, because that's the only support we have. We could not leave the school and go outside doing other jobs Because if we leave the school and go outside looking for money or doing other things to provide our needs, maybe we'll be leaving pupils without support. So we are requesting you to help us pay our money in time so that we continue with the service as we bring up the future leaders of the country and training the people who will be better for the upcoming of the. I will not talk much. I would like to thank you for the support you have given us, and we're also requesting you also to encourage us, respond to our requests so that we go on peacefully without any problems. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless you.
Okay, so again, we're really grateful to have Magdalena with us. And when I saw the video that she sent, I just thought to myself, she reminds me so much of every educator that I know. Like the first thing she asked for the things for the kids, and then she said, "And we'd really like to get paid." So now we're going to have some thoughts from Stephanie Bywater. Stephanie is one of the trustees of South Sudan Humanitarian. She and her husband and her 5 children have been involved in humanitarian work in Mali for many years. And she's been a trustee of South Sudan Humanitarian that I'm pretty sure none of us could figure out how long she has been a trustee for. So Stephanie.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah, like you said, my name is Stephanie Bywater, and I have been part of Southern Sudan Humanitarian for about 7 years, I think. And it's been a great honor for me to be part of this organization, this nonprofit. Currently, my job is to, well, I write grant requests, requesting money from organizations, from companies. And while that is a good thing, and we have several generous donors, it seems to take longer, you know, and there's a lot of paperwork. So this opportunity we have to do this Facebook Live is so great. And thank you for joining us and being willing to donate. I was moved by watching those videos. I hadn't seen those previously and realized truly the magnitude of the job that we are doing at Southern Sudan by supporting 2 schools with 1,000 kids almost at each school. We know our mission at Southern Sudan is obviously education. We know that that is the best way that these people can improve their own situation, self-reliance, they can improve their own communities. And like that teacher said, the future leaders of Sudan will come from these schools. So we're truly grateful to have the opportunity to support these schools and appreciate you being with us. Hoping to go to Sudan or Southern Sudan in the next couple of years as things calm down. We've had some opportunities to invite people to come with us. So hopefully that will happen. But once again, thank you, and please donate. The children look amazing, and I can't wait to meet them. So thank you. Thanks, Marie.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. So like we just did for Nimla, we're also going to take a look at the school in Cobabe, and Mark and Claren are going to sort of walk us through that as well. And I'll just reiterate what Stephanie said. You know, there's so much good that we can do with relatively little in terms of funding. So every donation helps, no matter what size it is. Mark and Claren. I mean, Claren and Mark. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind over here, everybody.
No, you're just fine, Marie. Thank you very much. You just mentioned that, actually you or Stephanie just mentioned that our donations can go a long ways. They really can go a long ways because of the exchange rate. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Claren, but right now I think the exchange rate is like 5 to 1 with the South Sudanese pound. In other words, for every $1 American dollar, it's like 5 Sudanese pounds. Does that sound right, Claren?
Well, back in 2011, when South Sudan became a new nation and they first had their currency, I think it was $4 to 1 was the initial, 4 South Sudanese pounds to 1 US dollar. And it's something like, I don't know, 300 South Sudanese pounds to 1 US dollar now. It's like hyperinflation. So basically, they just have to go spend the money as soon as they get it when we send a salary and buy something, you know, like food or whatever.
Oh, okay. Claren is a lot more knowledgeable about Cobabe than I am because he's been there and I'm not. I've just been to Nimla. So Claren, why don't you go ahead and take the lead on this?
Okay, the man in the middle with the jacket and the tie is Stephen Biel. He lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. He's from Akoba. And when you see it, where they spelled it Akobo, I want to say Akobo, but I think they say it Akoba. But and then the guy on our right side, the man on our right side is our head teacher. So it's about a 50-mile walk from Akoba and where our school is to where they're at is Gambela, Ethiopia. So Gambela, Ethiopia is a more stable area, kind of the regional trade town. And so if they need to get any kind of supplies, they go over there. So here's the same guy, same man with our students in front of the school about, I don't know, a few months ago with mud walls. And Stephen took most of his own money to go over there, and he bought T-shirts to give to the kids. Here, these kids have just kind of their ragged clothes. That's the best they have. Stephen, maybe some of the pictures might show the kids with some new T-shirts. These pictures here show the new T-shirts. And then we gave Stephen some money, and he bought in Gambela, he bought what they call iron, but the corrugated steel or whatever we call it here. And they replaced the mud walls and, put on a metal roof, or shored up the metal roof and boards and nails. And
I might just
so,
interrupt real fast, Claire, and note, I was just looking at these photos. The kids' shirts say Salt Lake City. So
yeah, yeah, he took,
Stephen shopped local before he went over.
yeah, that's right. So we're supporting the economy here in Utah too. But anyway, your donations will. So you might show up and see a T-shirt that says Utah Jazz on it or something, and you go, "Where'd that come from?" So here's some more new shirts. Some of them being bought in Gambela, I believe, he made there, and then I took them over to Akoba. But yeah, so this is what it looks like: grass, mud huts. This looks like Africa. This is a few months back in the rainy season when they had a lot of flooding, causes a lot of problems. So South Sudan, one of the big things with our schools is to get the kids educated so they can communicate. The official language of South Sudan is English. It used to be Arabic, but when they won their independence, it's English. And so as everybody learns English, then they can talk to each other. There's 64 tribes in South Sudan. And if they go to school, they can talk to each other. Things are more peaceful. These are some notebooks here on the floor that probably UNICEF or somebody like that gave to the school, and they're dividing them up. So we have the schools are pretty good at trying to stay in touch with the other NGOs in the area that can do some things for them. Maybe once in a while they'll build an outhouse or a latrine and of some good quality, and they'll give some notebooks and stuff like that. But the teacher's salary comes from us, and if any serious construction happens, it's going to be us that does it. It's going to be Southern Sudan Humanitarian and our donors that do it, and so we appreciate all the effort of donors.
Claire, and I have a question. So the ground looks really baked and dry. Do you know why?
It is really cool to go to Akobo, so if you haven't been there, you need to go, because it's just a natural ground that is some kind of a clay soil that when it dries out, it rains, it dries out, and like the next day, it's got these big cracks in it, I don't know. I'm not a soil expert, but it actually is fertile soil. Things grow like crazy over there if they've got a little bit of seed and,
Okay.
some equipment and stuff.
Hey, the photo that's on right now, it looks like there are some type of assembly that they have. So the building in the background, that's one of the classrooms that we have in Okobo. Is this the one that was just recently built or refurbished, Claren?
Yeah, so I'm at least so in the earlier photo back at the beginning of this stream, you noticed mud walls, and this has got the iron sheeting, and that's just recently. That's our donors, along with the charity of Stephen Biel and his friends. We put the iron sheeting on there. The mud just melts away every year in the rains.
And
You
there's,
notice,
go ahead, Claren, go ahead.
yeah, the pictures show girls in it, and there's quite a few girls. I know that
is one of
okay, they're saying, the students are saying thank you for helping us. And so we have pretty even mix with boys and girls, which is fairly notable in South Sudan, because if you've got a family, they love their family, they send, they have maybe a family, mom and dad have 10 children. And if you can only afford to send one child, you're probably going to send the oldest boy. But in our schools, we have pretty close to even boys and girls. So we're doing a pretty good job of getting the girls educated. There's some things that we could do for them, better bathroom facilities and some support for the girls. We'd love to have some funds to do some additional support for the girls to come to school. One comment, this was mentioned by Magdalena in Nimla, and this would apply to Coba also, is that they would love to have us expand and go to a secondary school. So the kids in Nimla, once they finish primary school, which is actually a very big achievement. You might be if you've got an eighth grade education, you might be the best educated kid in your village. But they would love to have us do a secondary school. That's a future thing we would love to do, have the funding for.
I would like to also add that the school in Okobo, they call it the orphan school, the Southern Sudan Orphan School. And the reason why is because a significant number of the students there at that school are actually orphans. And so their situation is can be quite desperate. And we, in addition to paying the teachers' salaries, one of the other things that we do is that we provide food for those orphans. We provide at least one meal a day. And sometimes that might be the only meal that they get each day. And I know that they're grateful for that, but that's something that we do, and then hopefully that we can expand that in the future to provide even more food for them.
Mark, let me just mention the feed in the window. So where there's the comments coming in, and I've been trying to reply to some of us if I could get away to do that. But I want to just mention we have an honored guest in our comment feed is Edward Aaron Christensen. That's Edward and Aaron Christensen. And they were, Edward Christensen was the mission president in Kampala, Uganda, and went up to South Sudan, got to Nimla about 5 times back in 2000, maybe 2010. And he brought some humanitarian missionaries with him. The church put in 8 water wells, a bunch of latrines, toilets, and they delivered 400 wheelchairs. So we appreciated his work, and we're grateful that he's still following us. So in that comment feed, if all of our viewers would just go there, comment, and like, especially the comments, and that bumps up the feed notice, so other people will be able to join.
So thank you, Claren. Marie, why don't we go to the next segment then?
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that updated information about what's going on in Akobo. We mentioned earlier we had one of our presenters who had been sort of stopped by some inclement weather. He's managed to escape the snow, and so I'm gonna have Gemma Root, who I'm gonna pin his photo just here in a second so everybody can see him. Hi, Gemma, how are you?
I'm doing good. I just legit just barely got home right now from the weather, so it's good so far.
Great. We're really glad that you made it safely. I just was going to do sort of a brief introduction and then let you sort of take over. Gemma is one of our volunteers for South Sudan Humanitarian, and he's also himself South Sudanese. He and his family came here, I believe it was 16 years ago, Gemma.
Correct.
And so I'm just going to turn some time over to you to share, you know, what is important about this work to you.
Well, ultimately, what's so important to me is just being able to help other people, get their education. Growing up and being here in the States, I've had so many people that have helped me in my life to help me where I am now. I'm attending college and I'm preparing myself for the future, basically. And just being able to give that back to the people back home and to those that don't have it like I do here. It's one of those things where you just can't you just kind of have to, I've been given so much where I would like to give back even 10 times more that I was given. And that's ultimately one of the reasons why I wanted to help, and just be part of this to assist in any way.
Thanks, Gemma. And it has been great having you on board. There's one thing that we should never forget, and that's the importance of having young people helping do the work. There's definitely been things that we're doing as an organization that Jim has been able to give us great advice on, just in terms of social media presence and other ways that we're reaching out to people. So we really appreciate your work with the organization, Gemma.
Marie, could I
Yes.
take a comment with? So Gemma, his mom, dad, and I think there's 5 children here in Salt Lake. But Gemma was born in Akoba. Is that right, Gemma?
Yeah, I was born in Cobabe, South Sudan.
We're honored to have you with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And I'd also like to add that, like Gemma, we're always willing to have people volunteer to help in our efforts. If obviously we want people to donate so we can fund the schools, but we also need people to volunteer to help to help us do what we're doing. And Gemma is helping quite a bit, and we'd love to have anybody else that would like to volunteer to join us.
That's a really great point. Thanks, Mark. And I'll just remind everybody who is watching, you can donate in different ways. You can go to our website at sudanhelp.org. And there's a donate button there. You can do a one-time donation, or if you're on the website, you can also set up a monthly recurring donation if you would like. There's also the option of just going onto our Facebook page, which you're probably sitting on if you're watching the live video. And if you do that, you can click on the little link up at the top. It's also to the PayPal account. And the nice thing about using that is they do get rid of all the service fees. So all of the money goes directly into the organization. And it's also all tax deductible. You'll get a receipt from us in the follow-up. So I'm just going to give sort of a brief yeah.
So, and what Mark was talking about with volunteer, the way to get us is go to our Facebook, or excuse me, sudanhelp.org, our website, and there's you know, contact us information there, so you can just do it that way and say, hey, I want to volunteer.
Thanks, Claren. It's always good to have everybody on the call because everybody knows what's going on in different areas that they oversee. So thank you. So I'm going to give sort of a brief introduction again to what it is we're doing here today, just for anybody who might have joined recently. South Sudan Humanitarian is a nonprofit organization that runs schools in South Sudan. We are trying today to raise the money for our teachers' salaries for the year so that we can use the other donations that we have from some of our donors to focus those on some infrastructure and other costs that we've been talking about today and heard the teachers and students referring to and seen some pictures. So that's sort of our goal. We are really excited for everybody who's hopped on to listen and to watch what is going on. I'm going to share with you now a short video that we put together. Because of time differences and internet instability, the teachers and students couldn't be with us live today, but they did take some photos and took some footage that we put together. And so we're going to share that with you. And I also just want to say, as I do share this, that we're really grateful to Anna Brunner, who has done the technical work on this, and to Rebecca Acole. As you watch the show here, Rebecca Acole is a South Sudanese musician in Salt Lake City who has recorded the music for us, and we're really grateful for that. And she just has a really wonderful voice. So I'll share this with you now.
Chal miere chor ke ilar tichili te chaman ke chal pi 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 I wish the ene contract san ke de chuku tan pe ka de tem anang lo ku white by ke jel ku guatem ko ago chen de beton le kem kwa te chaman ke cholti te chaman ke cholti te chaman ke cholti te chaman ke cholti kunatieng mi tienda kek di mi bobe niriam diech akek ye pidie ben ayan ke anyin we ne wile rei ke pinyinom kutie nyalin chaken mo ke kegien ake ka chake yon tike te chaman ke cholti 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 te chaman ke cholti.
Okay, so again, our thanks to the people that helped us put that video together. And now we are going to.
May I make an announcement? So we are, since our event started, we are at the donation list level, looking at PayPal Giving Fund, our account there, $2,433.96, which just about half a month. So we have just funded the education for about 2,000 students for 2 weeks.
Not bad.
That's great. That's
Thanks
really
for that
good.
update, Claire, and that's really good. And we're so grateful for everybody who's been helping. We really do appreciate it. So what we'll do now is we're going to talk with another board member, Jeff Cobabe. So let me get Jeff's video highlighted on here so everybody can see him. Hi, Jeff. So Jeff is a trustee of South Sudan Humanitarian. He's also a business owner. His company specializes in creating exquisite custom wood furnishings. He's also involved in humanitarian work in India, in addition to what he does with South Sudan Humanitarian. And I'll just finish with Jeff is an all-around good guy.
Thank you, Marie. It's wonderful to be involved in this group. It's been quite a few years now, actually, that I've been acquainted with this group of people. And one thing that you should know is that this is a group of people who found a need and decided to fill it. We're not a polished group. We're not as you can tell from our video, we're here winging it, kind of. But the reality of what is being done is life altering. And that's what's important, and important to me, and important to my family, and important to my wife. Jane and I got involved in humanitarian expeditions to India some time ago, and it has been a joy to us. And it's interesting because as we begin to look more globally, we find that there are great needs. And even right now, especially during COVID, there are needs everywhere. And the question is, why South Sudan? And my best and highest answer is because the need is greater. There is, because of the social unrest, because of the civil wars that have happened, because of the conflict that exists in the country, there is a great need for funds in South Sudan. Whenever things begin to go crazy, it is the children who are forgotten first, and it is education that is dropped first. And part of the reason why we have so many students at our schools is because the parents, the students are finding out that we're able to stay open, and we're able to provide them with a great education. And so when I give and when I provide money to an organization, I want to know that that money is spent well. And when I give to South Sudan, with the strength of the dollar, we are able to affect very positively. I was thinking about the numbers as Claren and Mark were explaining those, and the fact that they're saying that for $500 we can provide for the salary for the salary for the teachers of more than 2,000 students. That is, in my opinion, money well spent in a location that needs it a lot. Once again, real quick, sudanhelp.org is our website. You can go there and press the donate now button. And then also, of course, on the Facebook live page, you can donate there. And it's important. I go back to the interview that I was privileged to do with Nibal. What a wonderful person! What an incredible story! And one day I hope to tell more of that story. Her marriage to the reason they were able to come to America is because of her marriage to a lost boy of South Sudan, and the organization that brought many of the lost boys here to America. I think of something that she said down near the end of her discussion, and that was, "I love South Sudan." And then she said, I always pray about South Sudan, and when I asked her, I kind of threw her a softball question. I said, "What would you ask of these people listening to this broadcast?" And instead of saying "send money" or "send food" or we're so downtrodden, we're so beat up, she humbly said, "I wish to thank them," and that touched my heart. And she expressed the idea and the desire for people with good hearts to think far away. And so that's what we're asking. We're asking you, people with good hearts, to think far away and give us that opportunity, and give yourselves that opportunity to be the difference in the life of 2,000 students. So thanks again, once again, SudanHelp.org. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I was able to hear the entirety of Jeff's conversation with Nibel, because they actually talked for quite a bit longer than we showed you today, and it really hit me, a few of the things that she said, but also, and you didn't see as much of it in the one that we showed you today, but her kids were running in and out the whole time that they were talking, and there were moments when she and Jeff were just laughing at the kids messing up stuff in the background. But that's what this is about. It's about the people that we're trying to help. And it also reminds me, if you were able to watch the video of our teacher in Nimla, Magdalena, when she was talking, and she kind of the same idea. It wasn't about her. It was about what do these kids need. She kept talking about the pupils, and if we leave them behind, then they won't have anyone to teach them. So we can't do that. Uh, and it really it is. Thank you, Jeff, for reminding us to always bring it back to who this is really about. It's about these children. Um,
Well,
and
and the effect of what an education can make, and even in Nibel's life, she began school in the 3rd grade as a 13-year-old, I believe, and was able to complete her studies there prior to her marriage, and she hopes to study even more. Of course, the challenges of raising children and all those things that go with it are she's facing that now, but still wishes to continue education and still wishes to return thanks to her home country of South Sudan. And it's just, once again, that humble gratitude and that wish to give back and help others as she has been helped.
thanks. We're going to now have Claire and Twitchell and Mark Ethington come back onto the screen. Claire and Mark, if you're just joining us, are sort of the masterminds behind what's happening at South Sudan these days. Claire and Twitchell is our executive director and a founder of South Sudan Humanitarian. He has also been on multiple trips to the South Sudan schools to oversee the work that's being done there and to check in on everything. And Mark Ethington is the chairman of the board for South Sudan Humanitarian, and he has also been on site visits down in Nimla. And so right now they're going to talk with us a little bit about the Nimla school.
Okay, so I'm gonna just interject something here, Marie.
Sure.
A little bit earlier, I mentioned an honored guest that's in our comment feed, and that's Edward and Aaron, his wife Aaron Christensen, and they did a lot of humanitarian work and religious work in South Sudan. We have another honored guest that's come in, Becky Nimla, and her and her husband Steve were missionaries in South Sudan in doing humanitarian work in Juba. They never had the opportunity to get out to our school areas, but I'm sure we're a good influence and kind of encouraged people. They have done some sponsoring of students to get university degrees. And sometimes we have donors who have a particular desire to see higher education done. So we've done some bachelor's degrees that have been funded. The funds have been run through our organization, Southern Sudan Humanitarian, and we're actually currently helping out with steering those funds to somebody that's getting a master's degree. And so Imlay asked the question, what is our goal today? So good question. So that we need to repeat that. Our goal is to raise 3 months salary. We have committed donors and regular donors that we have lined up for 9 months of salary the coming, this calendar year. And so we're trying today to raise $15,000, which pays the salary for 26 teachers. And so it's about $5,000 a month, just to round it off. And the nearest thousand is 5,000 a month. And that's our goal for the day. So
Marie, why don't you go ahead and start showing the Nimla photos again? Okay. So this is, like we talked about previously, this is one of the classrooms that we've been able to help build there in Nimla. And this is a photo of a lot of the students, and it looks like they're just clearing out a lot of the weeds from underneath the trees. And we learned earlier that one of the reasons why that's done is because there's lots of critters, insects or snakes or things like that that would hide in the weeds if they were there. So they even though we have 3 permanent classrooms in Nimla, a lot of the students still meet out underneath the trees for their classes. And so they need to have the weeds cleared out. Hold it right there, Marie. This is a photo right now of the teachers at Nimla. Earlier we showed a video of one of the teachers, Magdalena, talking. And one of the things that she talked about is that in the past, sometimes our funding hasn't been quite what we wanted it to be. And so there's been delays in paying our teachers there. And in spite of those delays, the teachers have almost to a person stayed on at the school. And to me, I think that's a great testament to their dedication to the school. That even though sometimes their paycheck, so to speak, may be delayed, they're willing to stay on and to teach the children because they realize the significance and importance of what they're doing there at the school in Nimla.
That's our head teacher, our school director, Luca Othwai. So they do some real personal sacrifice. They're dedicated. During COVID, they travel around by foot to go encourage the students to keep studying and different things that they're able to do. So that previous picture was pointing out some repair work that needed to be done on the building. That's one of the 3 burnt brick classrooms that we have. Burnt brick meaning it's not a mud brick, it's a more or less permanent building. Should be good for 10 years or so, and with some maintenance on it. Again, the kids do some of the volunteer work around clearing the grass and cleaning things up. And this is the group of students, kind of the student assembly, probably taken from a roof of one of the permanent buildings.
And what's this, Claren? This is their the teachers signing off on getting paid. Is that right?
Yeah. So when we send the money to Cobabe, they have all the teachers sign for their pay, and then send us a photo of the pay results. And I believe it's actually was probably 2,850, but I'm not sure. I'd have to double check.
That was my fault. I gave that number, and I'm not good at math.
Oh.
Claren. So I gave the number to the person helping with the slideshow and I messed up.
Oh, okay, no problem. It's pretty close.
Yeah. Should go to the next photo. There we go. I'm not quite sure what they're doing in this photo. Do you know, Claren?
I don't really know. It kind of looks like they might have had some wood donated to build benches with.
Ah, yeah.
I have seen some solid wood benches in a few, not enough for all the students inside the building. There's been a few. And partnering, so here we're talking about locally, they are able to get some donors like UNICEF that'll maybe give them some books or some writing material. And they might have a World Food Program that'll donate a little bit of food. Then we list the Benjamin Foundation, which is the family that's Garbett Homes, and they're one of our major donors. And then the Sorensen Foundation, the Sorensen Legacy Foundation, is one of our major donors. So when we say, 9 months, there's those two foundations here based in Utah are a good share of that. And then we have some other private donors that regularly donate. And we're just looking for, today, we'd like the other 15,000 to make sure we've got the 3 months that aren't committed yet for this year.
And if I could add, the thing that we really want to make sure that we do, of course, is to pay the teachers' salaries. But as we've been learning, as we've been going along here today, there's so many other needs that the people have there for the schools, like more classrooms and like a fence around the school compound, and the uniforms, and the food for the orphans in Akobo, and the school supplies. And so if we can make sure that we have enough to pay our teachers and then go beyond that so that we can meet their other needs to help the schools continue to thrive even more than they already now, that would be wonderful. Hey, Marie, leave that picture up right here, okay? So I believe this is in Nimla. Okay, like we said earlier, the school that we have in Nimla, as well as the one over in Kobo, they're primary schools. And what that means basically is ages, grades 1 through 6. So first grade through 6th grade. Now, if you look at this photo here, you might think, boy, those sure look a lot older than 6th graders. Well, they are a lot older than our 6th graders, because you'll see a lot at the schools there in South Sudan and at our schools. You'll have kids or teenagers that are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old that are in 5th grade or 6th grade, because that's the level of school that they're at. And hopefully we would like to be able to, one of the things that we want to do in the future is to have a separate secondary school, or you might say a high school, that the older children the teenagers could go to.
Mark, can I just interrupt there? Actually, it's a primary school, so they actually named it a Yaktit Elementary School because they had a United States sponsor, and they know that in the United States we call our younger grades elementary school, but there it's actually a primary school, and primary school is 1 through 8, and then they don't have a middle school really. They go just on to secondary school, which would be grades 9 through 12, and our high school.
Yeah, but a lot of these students though are even older than our 8th graders.
Yeah, they're
And
for sure.
I was gonna comment because I did have the opportunity to listen to the full interview that Nibel gave earlier, and she actually mentioned this. One of the issues that kids deal with in South Sudan is getting to school. And it can be 5, 10, 15 miles, she talked about, to get to school if there isn't one in your area. And because of that, younger kids can't go. And so a lot of times these kids are not able to even start school till they're a little bit older. Maybe they're starting at 8, 9, or 10 when they're able to actually get to the school that is nearest to them, which may still be a good 15 miles of walking.
That's a good point, Marie. And I remember when I was there, walking is a way of life. There's not a, especially outside of Juba, there's not very many vehicles, very many cars, and so you walk everywhere. And for them, actually, thank goodness, you know, to walk 2 or 3 miles or even 5 miles really is not that bad. That because they walk all the time anyway. So, but that's a good point, though. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, this photo, let me comment on that, and also this. The next slide is a chart, but there's quite a difference between a Kobo school and the Nimla school in a lot of ways. But Kobo is an area that there's been more subject to the conflicts in South Sudan. Nimla, not so much. It's the economy and everything is a problem from the conflicts, but the actual fighting, it's been quite peaceful in the area, the state that Nimla is in. So this family here, there's a family group of about 28 people, mostly children, 4 women, like 1 man or something like that, and they had some friends that helped them donated some money to get like basic transportation to get from one part of South Sudan over to Nimla. They came here as internally displaced people because there was fighting going on where they lived, and they actually sent us the names on that chart, and out of privacy we blanked the names out, but I've seen the list there, and yeah, there really are real names behind those blank outs. And so in South Sudan, you get a lot of people that are displaced. This slide from from the flooding, and then there's a lot that are just from the various kinds of fighting that have been going on, the conflicts in the government parties and so on. Close up of some of those family group children. They're pretty raggy. The clothes, I mean.
The people are great, right?
People are great. The clothes not.
Yeah, they're very, very humble people. A lot of it because of their circumstances, but I think they're humble by nature, and they're very grateful for the help that they receive. One thing that I learned just one last comment before we go to our next section, our next segment, Marie. One thing that I learned when I was there, the 2 times I've been there in South Sudan, is that they're fiercely independent. They love to have their own country. They've had their own country since 2011, but frankly, without the help of the United Nations and the United States in particular, they would be in a world of hurt. Actually, things are pretty bad there now in a lot of different respects, especially economically, but it would be even worse. It would be just total chaos without the help that the United States and the United Nations have been providing to them. And what we're doing here is we're doing our small part, you might say, to help in that effort by providing an education to these children. And once again, we'd love to have you donate. For those who are viewing, in whatever amount that you can. Our goal today is $15,000, which is 3 months of salary for our wonderful teachers over in South Sudan. And you can donate by going to our website at sudanhelp.org. Excuse me. Yeah, sudanhelp.org, and just click on the Donate Now button. So, Marie.
Thanks, Mark and Claren. If some of you who were here earlier already had the opportunity to meet the person we're going to hear from next, it's Gemma Root. Gemma was able to hop on for a minute, but he had a work conflict today, so he pre-recorded something to share with us, which I'm now going to put up so that everybody can hear the thoughts that he has to share with us.
Hello, my name is Gemma Root, and I'm 21 years old, and I live in Orem, Utah.
Now, I was asked, what does education mean to me? And my answer to that question is, it means everything. You know, I've been living in the United States with my family for the past 16 years now. We came here in 2005. And one of the questions I have asked my father was, why did we come here? And one of the answers that he's told me is for a better life and education for his kids. Now, it's kind of amazing and crazy to think about. My father left all that he knew, his family members, his siblings, his home country, and brought his family to a foreign land that he didn't know the language that well. That's all new to him, so that his children may be able to have an opportunity to be educated. That's crazy to me to think, but it's quite remarkable. Because my older sister, she just barely graduated college last year. And I've got a younger brother that is a senior in high school, and another one that's a sophomore in high school, and a baby sister that's in the 5th grade. Education's everything. Right now, I'm attending the local university here in my city. And knowing that I will have the ability or the opportunity to be able to provide for my own family one day and to be able to do the things that I want to do in my life and support my loved ones, it's amazing. Usually my day consists of when I wake up, I get ready for the day, I eat breakfast, and I head on out, I go to classes. After that, I go to practice. I love running. Running is one of my passionate that I love dearly. That's helped me come here to school. Then I go back to class, and after that, I come home, I eat, then I study. Because I know that the things that I do here will assist me later on in the future. The things that I've gained here is going to help me out there in the real world. Right now I'm studying business, and hopefully one day I can have my own company and run it. But in order to do that, I first need to understand the things uh, that relate to that field, basically. And not everybody has the opportunity to be educated. In certain places in South Sudan, it's very raw, and nobody really has the opportunity to go to school or the funds to do so. So it's very difficult. But for those that do, they've got such a great opportunity. One of the things that I know that can help young people all over the world is not only just the desire to learn, but also to have an amazing teacher, the one that believes in them, that truly wants to see them succeed. Because that's kind of what I've had in my life. I've never been the best student, but I've been surrounded and was taught by amazing teachers that believed in me, that encouraged me, because learning is not easy. You'll have your struggling moments, you'll be learning new things, but those new things will build on other things. And if you don't have that first foundation, it gets difficult later on. But having those wonderful elementary school teachers that have encouraged me, have helped me build that foundation that I needed in my life, have assisted me to where I'm at right now. Teachers can change a lot for students because a lot have changed mine. If I was to stand in front of these kids in these rural countries in South Sudan or anywhere, matter of fact, I would tell them, don't give up. Keep on trying. It gets hard, but as long as you never give up, you will be able to achieve whatever you want. Challenges will come your way, but never give up. You know, ultimately, my hope for my home country, South Sudan, is for it to have peace, but ultimately for it to be a thriving nation. For the children, for the people there, that they may be able to have an opportunity to be able to, in a sense, see the horizon and see better days. Um, and I guess that's what is on my heart and my mind. Thank you for listening.
We're really grateful that Gemma took the time to prepare that for us today, since he knew he was going to have to be working. And I really do just appreciate his thoughts there. I feel like probably everybody was thinking about a teacher that had an impact on their life when he was talking about those that had an impact on him. And hopefully you also thought about some of the teachers that we saw today, you know, Magdalena, who could go out and look for another job, doesn't want to because she wants her students to have the opportunity to still keep going to school. Or, you know, some of the teachers that we saw in the photos dealing with, you know, not great conditions, teaching under trees or using, you know, materials that are not what we're used to here. So we're really grateful for, you know, everybody who's able to do something to help, you know, these the schools that we're supporting today. With that, we're going to have Mark and Claren come back on, and they're going to talk.
Marie,
Yes.
could we go ahead and go with James and then Claren and I?
Yes, we can. I'm going to invite one of our trustees, James White, to turn on his camera, and we will. I'll introduce him to everybody. James is um, one of the original people that's been a part of South Sudan Humanitarian. We're a little bit inundated with lawyers today, it seems like. James started working with South Sudan Humanitarian when he was an intern with the pro bono legal services as a law student at the University of Utah. He was helping refugees, and I believe it was the Lost Boys specifically that had some legal needs. He's now a practicing attorney in the Bay Area, and he's a trustee for us here at South Sudan Humanitarian. So thank you so much for joining us, James.
It's a pleasure to be here, even that there's this many attorneys around. Yeah, no, I first started, became introduced to Southern Sudan Humanitarian back in law school. I met Scott Jenkins. He had an ad up with the Pro Bono initiative. And the one that most intrigued me was to help with some needs for some African refugees. So I met up with Scott and we worked together, and eventually he and Claren invited me to join in with Southern Sudan Humanitarian, and it's been a pleasure of mine since then. One of my, well, back then it was just the Koba school. The Nimla school came a little bit later, shortly thereafter, and it's been great to see it grow and to see how many more children can be assisted and helped here. Originally, it was just for the orphans, whether it was both parents or one parent who had been the children had lost. It's been growing and growing and growing, and we hear 800 students, 1,000 students, 2,000 students. Everybody wants to send their children to these schools because, as was mentioned earlier, the schools are known for being very very good at putting out quality students, and we can thank that to the quality teachers that we have, which we can thank to the generosity of our donors who make it possible for us to keep this going and keep the teachers involved and the students involved and help in this small way, in this small corner of the world. One of my favorite things about Southern Sudan Humanitarian, well, actually, maybe I can say it in the negative. One of my least favorite things about charity organizations is that to be a charity organization, you have to give 10% of your funding to the program, and everything else can be taken by funding or operating costs. The thing I love, one of the many things I love about Southern Sudan Humanitarian is that that's not how it is. It's 100% of the funds needed that go to Southern Sudan Humanitarian go to helping these children directly. And I can't think of a better way to use the limited funds that we have and put this there. So I'm honored to be part of this organization.
Thanks, James. And I have to agree. I know that I have a few family members that have been donating to Southern Sudan since I learned about it and got involved. And that's one of the main reasons that they've chosen to do so as well. It really does matter that what we're doing here is for direct support to the schools and the students and teachers. And with that, we'll have Mark and Claren tell us a little bit more about the Cobabe school and the situation that we have there. So I will turn the time over to the two of them.
Thanks, Marie. Appreciate it very much. And thanks, James, for your comments. You brought up some very good points. As I mentioned earlier, Claren is much more knowledgeable about a Cobabe than I am, because I've never been to a Cobabe. I've just been to Nimla. So Claren, if you could go ahead and start out here.
Sure. So this photo, first photo of the man in the middle wearing the tie is Stephen Biel, who's is from Cobabe, and he is a board member also, and he's currently in Africa. And this photo was taken in Gambela, Ethiopia, which is maybe 50 miles or something away from Cobabe. Cobabe's on the border of just inside South Sudan, next to the border with Ethiopia. And so this town is kind of the regional trade center, but and the man on the right hand side is our school director for our school in Cobabe. And so a lot of times he's going to be the one that walks over to Gambela, buys some grain that's going to be used to feed the orphans, and he puts it on the boat and it's shipped over to Cobabe, down one river and up another river. And maybe he's going to walk back just to not consume any more funds. But anyway, so we started out at Cobabe, was our very first thing that we did in Africa in 2007. The local ladies, women there, saw these orphans, and there were 10 women that got together, just the local people, and they got some donations from BL and some of his friends in the United States, and they would send $300 a month over there, and the women would get together and hand grind the grain and feed 56 orphans. So in 2007, Scott Jenkins, who was one of the founders with myself, and Scott actually wrote the 501c3 application to the IRS. went over there, and when we came back, we sat down and we had a similar experience, both Nimla and Cobabe, and they tell you, they know you if you're not Sudanese and you show up in their town, that you're there not as the tourist, because the tourist trade hasn't been developed yet. And so they tell you what their needs are. So we started, before we left, actually, we started feeding these 56 orphans. Some of the people in the United States, Canada, were laid off and couldn't keep their commitment. And so we found a donor here in Salt Lake. So they helped us and said, sure, we could donate $300 a month. And so we fed the orphans. And when we got back from the trip, 2008, we said, okay, how can we help? And just seemed like the logical thing, the biggest benefit for the dollar, and the simplest thing that we could something we could wrap our minds around was giving these 56 orphans an education. So we hired 2 teachers, and it just grew from there. So now we've said 56 students. We have about 2,000 students in the 2 schools. Acoba was, I spent a week there in 2011, and it was just a great experience. You know, I lived in a mud hut with a grass roof, and they took real good care of me, and I got to meet the students and the teachers and the people locally. And it's just a nice, warm, fertile climate. The problem is that the country has not been stable. It's not been peaceful. There's been conflicts between factions in the government, and sometimes that takes on ethnic overtones, and the children suffer. But we're working hard with the blessings from our donors to supporters to give these kids an education. And in an earlier slide, the sources that we have of the U.S. government agencies that keep track of these things, they say there's 76% of the school-age children in South Sudan that are not in school at all. And so there's a real shortage. There are a few government-funded schools, but they're few and far between. So ours is a private school. Although we do get some support from the government, they supply material, the workbooks and things like that, the courses that are developed that are kind of standard East Africa education courses. The government does provide, sometimes NGOs provide the workbooks and so on that the students study.
Let me add something here, just another little historical background part of this effort here. For those of you who don't know, Sudan, well, there used to be what's called the Old Sudan. Okay, it was a large country in Africa, with Egypt on the north and Kenya and Uganda on the south of it. It was all one country. And then starting in about, the 1990s, sometime in the 1990s, there was a civil war that started between the north part of Sudan and the south part of Sudan. The South, people in the South wanted to have their own country, and the people in the north did not want them to let them do that. And so there was a civil war that occurred. And in South Sudan, there were over 2 million people that were killed in that civil war. It was just horrific. And it's one of the reasons why there's quite a few orphans. And we've talked a lot about the orphans at the Acoba school. But the South Sudan finally gained their independence in 2011, and they became their own country. And for a short period of time, things were great and wonderful. But then, unfortunately, the infighting, so to speak, started between the different ethnic groups within South Sudan, and it got quite intense for a while, and it still is not, as Claren mentioned, it's not politically not that stable. And there's still been some insurrections and fighting going on from time to time. And one of the things that we would love for people to do, to have a life-changing experience, would be to actually go to South Sudan and to help with the schools that we have there. Like was mentioned, I've been there 2 times, and it is a life-changing, experience when you're actually there with these people, and you'll become motivated to try to do everything for them. In fact, probably too much. But one of the things that we can do is just our little bit here, and that is to help donate to our schools, to help pay the teachers' salaries and to help their other needs also. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Claren?
Those kids are so beautiful, So in Akoba, it's been harder hit by the internal factions, the internal infighting in South Sudan. Really, I describe it as a political conflict that did take on some ethnic overtones, and there is more fighting, has been more conflict there. So the students, when they get in this school in Nimla, we go 1 through 8, and we used to go 1 through 8 in Akoba, but what typically happens is they're going through 1 through 4 or 5, and when the kids get to be a little bit older, they actually will go probably over to Ethiopia, because we don't really have the funding to have the complete school there and all the facilities. And so they go over to Ethiopia and try to find like a refugee camp or something with a school. So we do a lot. We do some very important work. We used to go 1 through 8 in Nakoba, but it's just the conflict that's kind of disrupted things a lot. So you see these kids are like maybe kindergarten kids or younger. And so they come and they get whatever they can understand. You can see some of the kids are really more legitimate, like 3rd grade size. I don't know what grade they're actually in, and maybe this other group, they're maybe 6th, what would be normally 5th or 6th grader. But they come and they do the best they can. The teachers work hard. Our Toot Paul, who a lot of these pictures are taken by him, and we ask him, hey, we need some more videos, we need some more photos. And so he takes the pictures at the school, and then he walks 50 miles. It takes him a couple of days, and he walks over to Gambella, where there's enough internet connectivity that he can send the pictures to us. So the teachers really are dedicated there.
Thanks, Claren. Hey, it's a little bit after 4 Mountain Standard Time here in the United States, so we probably ought to wrap up. So, Marie, why don't you go ahead and do your wrap up with the last video, okay?
Okay, so before I do that, I'll just remind you, if you haven't had a chance already, that you can donate at sudanhelp.org, or if you click on the little blue button on our Facebook page for Southern Sudan Humanitarian, there's also a link there. If you go to the website, if you're interested in making a recurring donation, you can actually set up a recurring donation on that website link. And if you're interested in volunteering in other ways, as Claren mentioned earlier, there's instructions on the website for how you can volunteer. So that was me filling time while I tried to queue up our next video, but it's not queuing. So just give me 1 second while I fix it.
Sure.
So there's probably on our website or on our Southern Sudan Humanitarian page, you might find like a donate button or something, but click on it, it'll take you where you want to go. There is a button right underneath the picture on the top, the banner picture, and it says learn more. And if you click on that, it takes you to our website, which has the donate today, donate button. And either pretty much any button's going to do.
Okay, and so we'll just leave you with one final video from our schools in South Sudan. And at the end of it, there is a message from Stephen Biel, who is one of our trustees and who helped us get the whole process started. Apologies.
The thing, I heard it from Gordon Bilinki, say that do something before you can die for people.
And, why not? It's something we have an opportunity to do just because it's the right thing to do.
For more information on helping Southern Sudan Humanitarian, visit us online at sudanhelp.org.
Okay, that takes us to the end of our presentation for today. And again, we just want to say thank you so much to everybody who helped by donating, who gave of your time and your talents to help us put this event together. And we do hope that we'll see you again in the future, helping us run these schools in South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie, for all you did.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Can we stay on our Zoom call for a while?
Let's go ahead and sign.